I've got the story The Most Magnificent Team by Ashley Spires, and I'm going to show you exactly what questions to ask while you're reading this book with your kids so that you're getting the most out of reading comprehension. Themes developed in this book are teamwork and collaboration, how to embrace differences, shared problem solving, conflict resolution, and patience, managing frustration and compromise, having a growth mindset, perseverance, and overcoming setbacks. All right. First question, this is actually a few pages in. Central idea. What problem is the girl facing, and how does she propose to solve it? Okay, so when this book says the girl, they're referring to this girl here in the red. So what problem is she facing? The problem she's facing is that she is going out onto the sidewalk where she usually does her little building projects, but there's another little girl there already. Usually she's there alone working on her little building projects, but this time there's another little girl there, so she does not have her workspace by herself. How does she propose to solve it? She immediately is just like, we'll just work together. At first she's like, oh, I'm not used to sharing my space, but then she's like, we'll just share our space, we'll just work together, I'll have a partner. So immediately she jumps into, we'll just do teamwork, we'll collaborate, it'll be great. Next question, key details. What happens because the girl decides to collaborate, and what is the result? So the girl decides to collaborate, and anytime you decide to collaborate, your collaborator, your teammate is going to have ideas, they're going to have feedback. Collaborating is not delegating. Teamwork is not delegating. So you do have to listen to other people's feedback and changes, and they might change your stuff. So because she decides to be collaborative, then the result is she has to cope with differences, she has to compromise, and she has to learn how to do teamwork. So those are just things that go with collaboration. And again, teamwork is not delegating. So when you collaborate, you might have to let somebody else have an opinion about your stuff, and it's collaborating. Next question, analyze point of view. How do different characters see the same problem, see the same event differently? Okay, so what has happened here? What event are we talking about? They talked about their plan, they executed their plan, and then they're coming together. And the little girl in the red has her thing already built. It's built a little messily, but it's built. The girl in the orange does not have anything built. And she says, oh, well, you have to measure twice and build once. Measure twice, cut once. So we see a different approach here. The girl in the red is like, I built something, I did something, I have a project, I have a product, I did things. And the other girl is like, measure twice, cut once. So one is working a little faster than the other, one is working a little slower, one is working a little bit more carefully. They just have different approaches to how they're going to produce the different problem parts of the project that they've decided to collaborate on. So here we start to see differences, and we get to see that we're going to have some conflict resolution and perhaps managing frustration, some compromise. So there's some friction developing in our little collaborators here. Next question, central idea. What is the problem the girl is facing? Okay, so the little girl does not take any kind of input from her new collaborating partner. She plows ahead. Now what problem is she's facing? She has a setback. So what she's built, it doesn't look right. Nobody knows what it's for. She has a setback. She's experiencing frustration, and she's experiencing a problem because her collaborator partner is like, don't work like that, be more careful, measure this, let's do that. They just have different ways of approaching what they're doing. And now our girl has a setback, frustration, and some conflict with her partner. All right, jumping forward. Now there's some friction for sure. All right, so several pages of conflict. Nothing needs to change. They don't need to start, so they're not agreeing on anything at this point. Next question, character development. How does the girl react to the conflict with the neighbor at first? Okay, so after several pages of conflict, they decide that they're kind of just gonna go their separate way. Where did they draw the line? They drew the line. Oh, that's on this page. She draws the line. So how do they react to the conflict at first? They're just like, I'm gonna do my own thing. And then they both go off and do their own thing. They literally draw a line on the sidewalk and they are no longer collaborating. They're just gonna work by themselves. So that is their first attempt at resolving the conflict, is not resolving the conflict, just doing things differently. But of course, they do their thing and they realize, oh, my project isn't really that great. So both of them finish the project and neither of them are very satisfied with what they did by themselves. So then they come back together and they have an idea together. Next question, character development. What is the turning point when each character understands something new? So they both went their separate ways. They made their little design products on their own, whatever they were designing and building. And when they're done building their own thing, they're like, I don't really like it. I don't know what it's for. I don't think I did a good job. But when they look at their projects together, they both get ideas. So the point where they understand something new is when one, they went off and did their own thing, but then the product, the result of doing their own thing, they were like, this didn't turn out the way I wanted. Two, when they looked at what they had built, when what the other girl had built, their wheels started to turn and they were like, oh, we could put these things together and build something. So that is when they understand something new and some better collaboration begins. Okay, but that doesn't mean they don't have conflict. When they disagree, they take a breath, they take a relax, they pet their cat, they pet their dog. Next question, character development. How do the girls cope with conflict and frustration? Oh, I guess we just talked about this. So of course, when you're collaborating, like there's going to be conflict, there's going to be some frustration, you are gonna have to work out some things. But what do? They take a breath, they step back, they chill out, they pet their cat, they pet their dog, and then they come back together and figure it out. So they give themselves space and they come back together and they figure it out. So that is like a way to manage your frustration. That is pretty inevitable if you're collaborating with someone. They learn how to compromise. So last question, central idea. What have the girls and the reader learned over the course of the story? Okay, so all about teamwork and collaboration. The girls have learned to embrace differences. They had different ideas for what they wanted to build, but when they built it, they weren't sure, and they got through things the best way when they embraced their differences and figured out a way to put their designs together and to be okay with having different designs and different ideas. They problem solved best when they were collaborating together. They resolved their conflict through patience. They managed their frustrations through patience and also having strategies, just like stepping back, taking a breath, pet your cat, pet your dog. They learned about compromise, and they learned through perseverance and through working together, they can build, their designs can be better, and they learned how to overcome the setbacks that come inevitably with collaboration. And those are the themes developed in The Most Magnificent Team by Ashley Spires.